Chapter 8 Business Organization and Structure. In this chapter, we will go through a lot of topics about the business organization and its structure. We start to have the introduction, and then we will share with you about the formal organization and some basic organizational structural concepts. And we also explain what is the difference between centralization and decentralization for the business organization or structure. We also talk about the entities hierarchy and also the roles and function of the main departments in a business organization. In the final part of this chapter, we will talk about the role of marketing in an organization, and also the informal organization and its relationship with the formal organization. Last but not the least, we will conclude the chapter by introducing the impact of the informal organization on the business. So let's start to discuss or to kickstart the introduction. Organizational structure is concerned with the way in which work is divided up and allocated. It outlines the roles and responsibilities of individuals and groups within the organization. So here are two concepts. First, for organizational structure, we are concerning on how the work is divided and allocated. So in other words, we need to understand from the organization point of view, how do we allocate the work and divide the work to each department or each individuals. So it outlines the roles and responsibilities. Another key understanding for you is for any organizations, because the organization is a group of individuals or different individuals forming together to perform a task or to achieve an organization goal. So for each individual, they should have their role and responsibility. So for organization structure, it's not just about how to divide and allocate the work, but it also points out the roles and responsibilities for each individual, so we understand how the individual can perform well for the works allocated to them. And for organizational structure, we divide them into so-called informal and formal organization. And in the following discussion, we kickstart to discuss the formal organization first. So formal organization. For the structure of most organizations, they are changing over time, because the company will have different phase of growth or journey. There will be the startup stage, and then maybe in the growing stage or the mature stage. So at least the company has to go through the journey from the startup. Maybe finally it can become a big multinational companies. So the structure of an organization is changing over time based on its, for example, like sales and also the number of people the organization hire. And there are 6 types of formal organization structure will be discussed here. First, entrepreneurial. Second, functional. Third, divisional. And then followed by geographical, matrix, and we will also discuss the boundaryless structures as well. So there are 6 types of formal organization structure that you have to learn in order for you to go into the exam room. Let's start to discuss about the entrepreneur or entrepreneurial structure. The structure or the organization chart here is quite simple. It's like the entrepreneur at the top of the organization, and with employees followed or under him. So it's a just 2-layer structure for entrepreneurial organization structure. And this structure is built around the owner-manager and is typical of small businesses in the early stages of their development. So it's quite simple and straightforward. Because for any startup or any small business, the business owner or the entrepreneur is the core member of the organization because he owns the company, and he tries to develop the small company from small to big. So here the entrepreneur should drive almost every functions in the organization. And it is also often found when the entrepreneur has specialist knowledge of the product or service that the organization offers. So some key elements for entrepreneurial structure. First is an early stages of the development. Small businesses. So small businesses, early stages of their development, and also the entrepreneur has specialist knowledge of the product or services. So here, when we talk about the entrepreneurial structure, it generally refers to a small business, maybe with high growth, and the entrepreneur contribute a lot in offering the product or services to its customer. And when we look at the advantages or disadvantages of entrepreneurial structure, we start to share about the advantages. First, fast decision making. Because it's the owner-driven business, the decision making is quite simple with this two layers structure. Just the employees, maybe he or she propose something to his boss, who is the business owner, and then just make a quick decision because the communication just between two parties here. And for entrepreneur, because he is driving the business by himself, he offers the services or products directly to customer in many cases, so that he is quite fast to respond to the market. And also with good controls, with good goal or target, very straightforward goal or target, with very strict control as well. And for entrepreneur or for entrepreneurial structure, the business owner is very close to the employees because there's only two layers without any other thing. So here are the advantage of entrepreneurial structure. But there are also some disadvantages because it's very small company, sometimes to say, to the employees themselves. It's about the employees themselves. It looks like there's no growth in their career path. Therefore, the disadvantage for employees or for the organization as a whole is lack of career structure because it's just two layers, the employees and the business owner, without any other layers for them to grow or develop. And next, it depends whether the company is successful or not. It depends on the capabilities of the owner. As we just mentioned, the business owner mainly contribute every functions in the company, including provide the services or products to its customers. So whether it's success or not, it depends on the owner itself. And it is quite uncertain for many organizations on the journey to be developed or to the growth. And under this entrepreneurial structure, it is quite hard to make or to do any diversification or growth. If the organization grows, one person will not be able to cope with the increased volume of decisions, and because he has to manage all functions in a proper organization, so it's quite hard for them to grow on this aspect. And next, we'll talk about the functional or departmental structure. It's not a small company or organization, when you check with the entrepreneurial structure, we have a so-called a board of directors here, and with different departments as well. So here you can see marketing departments, production departments, finance departments, and personnel departments. And functional organizations group together employees that undertake similar tasks into the departments. And this type of structure is often found in organizations that have all outgrown the entrepreneurial structure. In other words, when an entrepreneurial structure, at the startup stage, it is an entrepreneurial structure, and the company grows, the business grows, and the tendency or the trend for the organization will become a more functional focus, because different group of people or employees, they have different tasks by themselves, and they finally group with each other to form different departments, like marketing function or marketing department. Those people focus to work on marketing work. And for finance department, those staff come together to work for financial reporting or accounting, or financial analysis as well. So when a company or an organization is growing, then we can see a functional structure is developed. And it is most appropriate for small organizations which have relatively few products or locations, and which exist in a relatively stable environment. In other words, when an entrepreneurial structure shifts or change to the functional structure, the business is becoming bigger, but the key here is the company or the organizations have few products or locations. That means it's not complicated. Even the business is growing, the sales is growing, the product line or the locations is still not very big. Say the product line is not a huge volume of products or different kinds of product in the product portfolio, or there's a wide coverage of the locations in a country, maybe just only one city or maximum 2 cities. That's the small organizations in the market. So functional organization structure is proper or appropriate to this type of organizations. Apart from it, the business environment should be a stable business environment. That means there's no big changes or a lot of uncertainty in the business environment for this functional structure exists. And let's look at the advantages and disadvantages. For advantages, we have 4 items here. Economies of scale, because right now the same type of work is grouped under the same department, like finance department. And for the finance department, they can perform the work focusing on the finance job. It can contribute for economies of scale, because it's no need for an employee to work both for finance and for, say, marketing. And also standardizations. When you put the same talents in the same departments, they have the synergy because they can share expertise in the same area. And also it can help to reduce the duplication of works. And for the finance department, they can perform standardized services to different kinds of business line, like product or other departments, like to serve the production department from the financial expertise, and serve for HR departments from their point of view, also serve the marketing team from the finance point of view as well. So it helps to standardize the service they offer to different kinds of departments. And it comes to next point, that the specialist, say finance department, they hire the qualified accountant to work under the finance departments, and they just focus on the services they delivered. That is the financial reporting or auditing or internal auditing or management accounting. So they just focus on this area. They are the specialists on providing the financial services to all internal stakeholders. And specialists are more comfortable on this environment because they can show or demonstrate their skills and knowledge to other departments. And last but not the least, the advantages is about the career opportunities. Imagine there's 2 persons or 3 persons in the finance department. One is the financial controller, and he or she leads 2 team members, and one is, say, the accountant, the other is the accounting clerk, and they can see their career opportunities when they grow up, say from accountant or say from the account clerk to be promoted as an accountant. Once they have the required experience and once they have the opportunities to do it. So it's the career opportunities within the organization, not like an entrepreneurial structure, because there's just two layers, and just the owner and the employees. And here you can see that in the department there is some different type or different grades of personnel within the department. Some are senior grades, the other maybe as junior grade. So there's a career path within the finance department, let us say, for the staff or for the employee to look for and to grow. So here is the advantages for functional structures. And for disadvantages, for the first point, empire building. Managers of the functions, say a marketing function, may try to make decisions to increase their own power or adjust in the best interest of their function, rather than working in the best interest of the company overall. And so it leads to empire building here, and conflicts between functions. So here is an example, like a marketing head would like to show his or her influence in the company, and he or she would like to make the decisions and within the department. It can show their power. It can show to the department staff by this marketing head. But the decision made by the marketing department, say a promotion campaign, maybe spend a huge amount of money in a promotion campaign, may not be good for the company as a whole. At that point of time, the finance department may come to the marketing department to say, hey, why you spend a lot of money in the promotion campaign? And then there is a conflict between functions, because marketing and finance, they are looking from 2 perspectives. For marketing departments, they would like to spend the money and to show the money spent, which can drive the sales in the future, but it's uncertain. So they would like to spend. But from finance point of view, or from the finance department point of view, they would like to control the cost and to make sure the cash flow is healthy. And that when they see the marketing department just spend or invest in marketing campaigns, they will come to argue with marketing department and to discuss why the marketing department need to spend a huge amount of money in the promotion campaign. Then the conflicts between functions can be happen in this functional structure. And if you see the structure, owner sometimes is not in the structure itself. There's a board of directors. Board of directors is composed with different parties here, not just by the department head. So when they cope with some decision-making process, sometimes it's a bit slow compared to entrepreneurial structure. Because you have to go through the board of directors, you have to call all directors to join the board meetings in order to make a decision. It's not so fast, because if for entrepreneurial structure, the entrepreneur just make the right decision, or just make the decision right after the customer make the response to them. But here, if the customer make a response or reply to the company, it has to go through a long chain of command in order to solve or in order to fix it. then the decisions will be made much more slow. And for the last point here, the disadvantage, functional structure is not suited to an organization which is rapidly growing and diversifying. Say, because you can see there's a production department, marketing department, and if the specialist in one organization's production function here, the production function here, a specialist here, he is a specialist on some particular product, but he may not be able to cope with making the other products. Say, and for example here, the company is making some environmental protection products, but at the end of the day, the company decide to make some other products. The production function, the specialist here, cannot produce other goods or services for other customers. So when the functional structure here, it is generally suitable for those stable business environments. That is not a fast-moving or fast-pacing industry, because everyone here on each function, they have their specialist, or they have the special expertise. They cannot cover a lot of area, and they cannot cope with diversification as well. And next, divisional structure or product structure. You can see here we have the board of directors, and then it's not followed by departments, it's by division. Division 1, Division 2, and Division 3. And under Division 1, they have their functions, let's say marketing department, procurement department, production department, finance department. And for each function follow the same structure, or more or less the same or similar structure. So it's not the same story as what we discussed in the functional structure. And these structures, the divisional structure, occurs where an organization is split into several divisions. Each one oversee a product, a geographic section, or even by customer. And each division is likely to have a functional structure with all the departments it needs in order to operate in its particular market segment. So divisions are likely to be run as profit centers. So what is profit center? That is, the division, the main goal or purpose of this division is to make profits for the company or for the organization. So they are considering themselves as profit center. On the other hand, sometimes the company has the cost centers. That means the division or department, they are not for profit making. They incur costs, but they provide the supporting functions to other departments or other profit center. So we classify them as cost center. And here we are looking for the divisions in these situations, like the product or by geographical by geographical division. Then for each division, they are running as the profit centers with their own revenues, expenditures, and capital investment. So for each division, it's just like an individual or standalone company. They need to report their P&L to the central management. And for each division is a separately identifiable part of the overall organization. And sometimes in the business world, they are referred to as strategic business unit, because they are doing the business by themselves, by each division, and they have their own functions like marketing, sales, finance. So they have the revenues, they have the expenditure, and they need to make the capital investments decision as well. So here is the division or divisional structure. For the advantages of divisional structures, it enables growth. First of all, it enables growth because for each division, they have their key performance indicator and they have the target to achieve. And because they are a bit smaller, so they can focus on sales and growth. And for each division, they have clear responsibility on for products or divisions. Because say division A is responsible for the product A, then they've just focused on the product A, how to sell better for product A. It's very clear for them, and it's also a training to general managers. For each division, they have the general managers to take lead on the division or their own business, and it's a good training platform for general managers, especially when the general managers have experience on managing the division. They can have the opportunity to be promoted to manage or supervise the whole company, or to the big or with bigger job scope by covering more divisions that can be under his supervision. And it's quite easy to adapt and further diversification. Due to the breakdown of the company's activities into divisions, it should mean that the divisional managers can clearly see where their area of responsibility. And for the top management, they focus on strategic matters. So for top management, they no need to take care about the daily operations because the daily operations are managed well by the divisional manager. So for top management, they can have more time to focus on strategic matters rather than get involved in the day-to-day operations. And for disadvantages, in most divisional companies, some functions like accounting or human resources are provided in the central department. If this is the case, the cost of centralized function could be recharged to each divisions by themselves. And it's about the allocation of central cost here, because when you do the recharge to different division, there are different ways of calculating the recharge, and the divisional managers may complain if the profitability of their division is reduced by an amount that they perceive as being arbitrary or unfair. So here is concern about how to allocate the central cost or the functional cost like accounting and HR. And for divisional structure, because the division has a certain power by themselves, the general manager is responsible to look after on the day-to-day operations. Their power will be increased over time. So from the central management point of view, there is a risk on loss of control from the central management team. And also to focus the goal of each division, sometimes they are too focused on selling their individual products or their individual location. And the goal congruence will be lack of because there's no central focus, or the so-called the company goal is not clear on this aspect, because for the divisional goal maybe more emphasized than the overall company goal under this divisional structure. And duplication, there's a risk of two divisions of fighting with each other because they are not clearly separated. Sometimes they are overlap or duplicate of their coverage, like geographical coverage or product coverage. So there's a duplication on when the divisional structure is implemented. And for specialists, here they may feel isolated because it's the division managed, and the general manager in charge of the division, they focus on the sales or on the performance. And for those specialists, say accounting team, they are just the function to support the division. Or the accounting or HR is centralized, they support for say division 1, 2 and 3 on certain aspects, but they are not part of the business. They look themselves just the service provider to each division, and no matter the sales is growing or the sales is plunged, they don't have a strong feelings because it looks like they are not part of the division by themselves. So specialists like HR specialists or accounting specialists, sometimes they are not happy because they feel they are isolated. And geographical structure is quite similar to divisional structure. You can see the structure here. We just mentioned division 1, 2, 3 in the divisional structure, but here we talk about northern division, eastern division, and southern division. And for all division, they have their own functions support them. So it is similar to the divisional structure, but involves each division covering a specific location. So what are the advantages? First of all, it enables geographic growth. Geographic growth, because for each division, they focus their own territory, and the focus can help to enable the growth in a particular area or zone. And it allows local decision making because like the division, northern division, they focus on the local community and they can make a decision fit for local markets. And it's quite clear for responsibility because the division is divided by the geographical location. Suppose it's no overlap because just clear cut on the map, then it's fine. And it also can help to train the general manager as well. It's very similar to the divisional structure, and top management can have free time to concentrate on strategic matters. Also, it is the same point as divisional structure. And for disadvantages, it's quite similar to divisional structure as well. Like the specialists are not happy because they don't find themselves as part of the division. They just provide the services to them, so they feel they are isolated. So it's quite similar to those we just mentioned in the divisional structure. Matrix structure. And here, matrix structure is a bit complicated because it is a combination of functional and divisional structures. And the aim of matrix structure is to combine the benefits of both structures. So it hopes to combine both functional and divisional structures, the benefits of this. And the matrix requires due reporting to two different managers. I think here is the key. Here is the key. The matrix requires due reporting, means if you are the employee, you have to report to two bosses. Very simple. And here is an example. Looking at the diagram here, an employee manufacturing product A would have to report to the manager of production department. So an employee is located here. He needs to report to the production department, and also he needs to report to the manager in charge of product A. That is production manager A, production department. That is the product A manager in charge. He needs to report to product A manager, and he also needs to report to the production department. And under this structure, for product A manager, he is responsible for the production, for the sales, for the finance and R&D of this particular product. And for each worker, supporting product manager A, he needs to report, say, in the production. Then he needs to take care product manager A and also the production department. For the sales team, if they are selling product A, they are not only report to the sales department, but also the product A manager as well. So here is the explanation of how matrix work, and let's take a look on the advantages and disadvantages of matrix. As said, it is a combination of functional and divisional structures. It tries to grab all advantages from divisional and functional structures as well. So it is a bit flexible. It is customer oriented, focus on the customer or the your end product or services, and it encourages teamwork, or it needs teamwork, because you have dual reporting. You have across different departments as well. So teamwork is a must, and the exchange of opinion and expertise is also needed in order to perform the jobs well. And disadvantages. First, because there's dual reporting, it means dual command and conflict. If a guy reporting to both product manager A and also the production department as well, if there is a conflict, how to manage it? It's a question to the employee in this matrix structure. And also there's a dilution of functional authority. In the finance department, the financial analyst reports to the finance department head, and also he is the product A financial analyst. So at the same time, he needs to report to the product A manager, and it dilutes the functional authority for this staff working under finance as a financial analyst, because he has two reporting lines. One is the finance department, the other is the product A manager. And for finance department head, its functional authority is diluted under this scenario. And then it's time-consuming meetings. You can imagine like a financial analyst, he needs to report to the finance department, and also he is in charge of the product A performance as well. He needs to work closely with the finance head or finance department, and also he needs to meet with the product A team. Not only the product A manager, he needs to work closely with the product A or those departments selling product A, like sales department or production department or R&D department for product A as well. So he has a wide range of network in the company to work with. It's quite time consuming to meet with different people. And last but not the least, the admin cost is very high admin cost under this structure, because it's a matrix, and then you have a lot of people networking, and you have a lot of coverage. You need to send emails to different parties, and even for the annual appraisal or performance review, you have dual reporting. So you have two people or two supervisors to comment on your work performance, and it also incurs the admin cost to managing it. In this illustration, we'll briefly explain matrix structures by an example. So for example, if a car manufacturer wants to design, to produce and make a new model, the process involves most parts of the organization, and a flexible system is needed to achieve the objectives. For example, there's a design work, a more rigid, a more well-organized structure to do it. And if a more rigid structure experienced in a divisional company would not have the flexibility to be able to coordinate the task and the people, whereas the matrix structure can cope. So for example, the production managers could be replaced with customer managers, in which case the whole team will be focused on meeting the needs of the customer. So the customer is the focus instead of just producing the car, and the car without any concerning or without any considerations of customer needs. So right now, for a lot of production, the production department is not the only party responsible for production. There's a matrix structures. For the products that it manufactures, it needs to have the customer buy-in. Otherwise, the product is no value to the manufacturer. And the last formal organization structures that we would like to share is boundaryless structures. For boundaryless structure, it is no boundary from the word itself. It is a contemporary model of organizational design, which adopts a more flexible approach to structure. And boundaryless organizations are an unstructured design. So there's no proper structure. This unstructured design that is not constrained by having a chain of command or formal departments. And the focus, here is the point. It just focus on something instead of being flexible. So we talk about it's a flexible approach, but the boundaryless structures is using this flexibility to focus on something. Here is the chart or the diagram showing how the boundaryless structure would be look like. There is a customers, suppliers, and competitors. And within the organization, there's no clear structure on it. So you can see there's reporting maybe from here to there, and also it can be communicated between this point to this point. So it's no clear structure within an organization because the focus is on how to serve the suppliers or how to serve the customer better or how to compete with your competitors. Here is the focus. So instead of just like to say on a proper like a functional structure, boundaryless structure is more on the end product or the outcome itself. And there are three types of boundaryless structure. First, the hollow organizations. They split their functions into core and non-core activities. So if you would like to move forward on boundaryless structure and follow these hollow organizations, you have to identify which functions are core and which are non-core. And then anything considered as non-core is outsourced to other organizations. So outsourcing we discussed in our another class. It refers to the contracting out of aspects of the organization work to specialist providers. One example here for hollow organizations like accountancy training organization, we outsource, say, the important functions, less important functions like the payroll function to outsider, and we specialize our service on our core activities, like provide tutoring, providing the tutorial, the student support services, all kind of stuff to is our core because we have to give good classes, good training to the students, good mock exam to the students, good supporting activities to students like the Q&A and other supporting services to students in order for them to pass the examination. Here is the core. But for those activities like marketing, like payroll, they are not the accountancy training organization's core activities. So all these activities can be outsourced to the third parties. And next, Virtual organizations. Many of an organization's functions are outsourced to other organizations, and the organization is simply exists as a network of contracts. So it means very few functions are being kept in-house. One example is like the internet retailers or the so-called e-shop. They could be seen as virtual companies. Their products are bought in from manufacturers, and sales are delivered to customers by third-party couriers or third-party logistics service provider. And even for their websites or their app are maintained and hosted by external IT specialists. So under this type of organization, the internet business or internet retailers, many of the functions are outsourced to different parties already. So it is like a virtual organizations. And typically the organization or the virtual organizations have only a small team members focusing on the so-called very, very important stuff within the organization. And the last one is modular organizations. Rather than simply making their own product, they break the manufacturing process down into modules or components, and each component can then be made by the company or outsourced to an external supplier. For example, a mobile phone. A mobile phone manufacturer, or I cannot say a mobile phone manufacturer, a mobile phone brand, they pay external manufacturers to make some key components for the handsets, such as the screen, such as speaker, and maybe assembling by the third party as well. But the core of a mobile phone is the processor. So the processor itself, because it's the key components, is manufactured under the mobile phone brand's factory. So the mobile phone's factory only manufacture the processor, and for all other parts of the mobile phone, no matter the speaker, the screen, or any other components, they just outsource and assembling all together by an outsourced party as well. So here is the modular organizations. So now is the in-class question time. We have this question, two statements. First, under the functional structure, each department operates as a strategic business unit. Each department operates. Is it true or not? Second, the matrix structure will enable rapid decision making within the organization. So here is the clue for you. The first, functional structure. Whether functional structure is for each department operates as a strategic business unit. I think you remember we share with you about the chart here. So you can understand this well, and then you know whether the first statement is correct or not. The second statement, we refer to the matrix structure. We have the advantages and disadvantages. For matrix structure, do you think it can enable rapid decision making or not? There's a due reporting, so you can imagine whether the decision making is rapid or not rapid. Then you think whether the statement is correct or not correct. Next, the question is about MPLC. It is a large company that operates in country G. It manufactures several different products, each of which is highly complex and extremely specialized. So the features of the products is highly complex and extremely specialized. And the sales have grown significantly. So it has a high growth or very fast growth sales over the last several years, with each of these products producing a roughly equal amount of M's overall revenue. That means the products, there's a range of products, but no one particular product dominates the revenue for M. And here the question is, which organizational structure is most likely to be appropriate for M? Whether it is geographic, or divisional, or functional, or entrepreneurial.